Welcome back to Chef Hacker. Today we're going to make something called pork chop soup. This name comes from a place I used to work in the 1970s called the Macketeers. The kitchen crew that handled maintenance of the kitchen, they were all Chinese nationals. And even though food was provided like it is in most restaurants, in this particular instance, the kitchen crew preferred to cook for themselves, and they were all very good cooks. And one thing they did on Sundays was they'd make something they called pork chop soup. They'd basically take a pot and a pork chop and water and just simmer that pork chop for about 3 hours. Then they'd add in garlic, rice, and clams, and usually some scallions. And then within about, I don't know, by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, that was a soup that they ate along with rice. And it was actually very delicious. I don't make that because my wife is not crazy about it. And when she says I'm not crazy about it, what that really means is she doesn't like it. So I make a different version of it that's sort of an Asian fusion kind of a thing. And we're going to see that today. So let's get, and the hack is that in addition to the pork, I add a piece of chicken and I also add some lemon juice. Okay. Let's get started. Okay, so we'll take a tall pot, a pork chop with a bone in, about 4 ounces, and a chicken thigh, about 4 ounces, skin on, bone in. Add 10 cups of water. And onto the stove it goes. Put the flame on high, cover it, bring it to a boil. For the soup, we'll take a piece of celery, about 4 ounces of mushrooms, 3 scallions, about a cup or a cup and a half of snow peas, and about 2 ounces of fresh ginger. Cup and a half of fresh spinach leaves, and 14 ounces of extra firm tofu. For the stock, we'll also put 2 cloves of coarsely sliced garlic, and about 2 ounces of soy sauce combined with about an ounce or ounce and a half of lemon juice. So let's cut up the vegetables. We're going to cut the celery in half. I'm going to cut it on a bias, which is typical of Asian foods. Cut the scallions similarly. We'll take off the tops and we'll use those for our freezer bag, where we keep our vegetables and use them for future stock or sauces. Cut the scallions on the bias as well. And when you get to the bottom, those can also go into the frozen vegetable bag. We're using baby bell mushrooms, but you can use any mushrooms you like. We'll cut them in half, and then we'll slice them. You could even use combinations of mushrooms if you choose. Okay, you get the idea, so let's speed this up a little bit. I like to peel the ginger with a knife. You could use a peeler, it's just I prefer to use a knife. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this in half, and then we're going to slice it. And I like to slice it kind of thick because I like to eat ginger once it's cooked, so I'll leave it in the soup. But not everybody does like it, so I figure if I leave it big enough, then people will be able to pull it out without accidentally eating it. And then finally we'll cut our extra firm tofu. I like to cut it into about 3/4 inch cubes. Okay, so the stock has come to a boil, so we'll give it a stir. Turn it down to a simmer, and then after an hour, we can remove our chicken thigh and our pork chop. And we can cut the meat from the bone. And then we're going to cut the pork chop into small pieces. We're going to return this to the stock along with the chicken. For the chicken thigh, we're going to pull the skin off. And we're going to cut the meat off the bones also. Now this particular chicken thigh didn't have a lot of fat on it, so all the fat was rendered during the cooking of the stock. If there were any large globules of fat, we would have gone ahead and cut them off as well. But with this one, there wasn't very much fat, so it's just chicken meat that we're cutting off. As we did with the pork, we're going to cut this into pieces. And we're going to return the chicken and the pork to the stock. Add in our ginger and garlic. Our soy sauce and lemon. Oh, wait a minute. Don't forget the salt and pepper. Okay, bring it back to a boil and add in the vegetables. And finally, the tofu. Cover it and return it to a boil. All right, so we let the soup come back to a boil, and then we added a little bit more soy sauce. We adjusted the salt and pepper, and we added about maybe 2 tablespoons worth of lemon juice. And that's sort of the hack for this one. Anyway, let's see how we're going to serve this thing. I have a little bit of steamed rice here, which I'm going to put in the bottom of the bowl. And then I'm going to take the soup. Make sure I get all the vegetables and the chicken and the pork and the broth and the mushrooms and the tofu and the snow peas. And I'm going to go ahead and serve it just like that. Now, if I had a little bit of cilantro, I'd chop it up and put on top, but I don't have any cilantro. So that's pork chop soup, hacked to perfection. If you like this video, please like the video, Please subscribe and send us some hacks of your own.